People won't try to replace dad, right? For us.
Because no one's going to replace your dad.
Right.
No one.
I worry that my dad and
Robyn Brown finally has her say, and what she is saying is shaking heads. After all those years of quiet, she is revealing what she thinks really happened to bring down the Brown family. For years, fans accused her of dismantling what appeared to be a united plural marriage, but in Robyn's version, that is only part of the story. When Robyn entered the Brown family in 2010, she arrived with hope and respect. She adored the concept of sister wives and admired Cody Brown's close bond with his first wives and children. It looked like the perfect place to raise her own kids, Aurora, Brianna and Dayton. Everything seemed to fit initially, but quickly viewers realized something that would make everything seem different. Robyn was Cody's definite favorite. Over time, Kody withdrew from his other wives. He saw less of Christine, Janelle, and Mary, and more of Robyn and her kids. Gradually, the equilibrium that had held the family together began to deteriorate. The sister wives' closeness collapsed. Though she purportedly espoused the plural lifestyle of the family, Robyn's behavior indicated otherwise. It looked like she and her children were happy to have Kody all to themselves. When the other wives started walking out, everyone expected Robyn to breathe a sigh of relief. But she pretended to be heartbroken, particularly when Mary walked out. She attempted in vain to persuade her to remain. However, now Robyn is turning the tables. She thinks it was Christine's exit that really destroyed the family. In Robyn's opinion, Kody had excellent relations with his children prior to Christine's departure. Later on, everything fell apart. She indicates the tensions that intensified during the pandemic, particularly between Kody and sons Gabe and Garrison. Kody believed he was not being treated with respect and wanted them out of Janelle's home. At the same time, he continued to rationalize remaining with Robyn, ignoring the rest of his family altogether. For Robyn, Christine's choice was the start of the end, but some fans don't view it that way. They think Robyn is deflecting. Some accuse her of jealousy over Christine's new life, a life of confidence, love, and public admiration. Christine did move on and is flourishing outside of the Brown family. And even though Robyn has acknowledged that she does feel bad for hurt she might have done, her words haven't altered public sentiment. To some, her emotions ring as phony, her apologies pretentious. To the audience, Robyn is not a victim. She is one of the reasons that the family broke up, and by her last statements regarding Christine, she might have only had a greater distance between them. Whether she's speaking the truth or simply attempting to alter history, one thing for sure is that the damage has been inflicted, and the Brown family will never be as it once was. Robyn Brown's recent assertion that Christine brought down the family has left viewers in shock, and not for the reasons she wanted. Most people feel Robyn is totally out of touch. Her charge that Christine wasn't popular with the original children didn't sit well with the audience. Indeed, no one was interested in hearing Robyn's side of things anymore. People have had enough. Instead of accusing Christine, the majority aimed their anger at Robyn and Kody, whose behavior over the years has been louder than recent interviews. But Christine might have let a bombshell of her own fall, one that uncovers something Kody likely hoped would remain hidden. Might Cody Brown actually be in huge back child support debt? Rumour has it, Christine Brown-Woolley has opened up a can of worms that does just that. She reportedly filed a support claim in court, which included mandatory paternity testing, raising further questions about Cody's responsibilities and what he might have dodged in the past. The drama over child support among the sister wives was not sudden. Due to Cody's polygamous lifestyle, he was not legally bound to all of his children. With Christine and Janelle, he was not even included on some of their children's birth certificates. That left the mums with the responsibility of healthcare and everyday expenses on their own. Legally, Kody was married to Mary Brown alone until their divorce in 2014. Then he married Robyn Brown, as filmed on Sister Wives, and legally adopted her 5 children. From that time on, his attention and legal obligation appeared to turn entirely to Robyn's family. Things really started to come apart in 2021 when Christine became the first of the wives to depart. She and her youngest daughter, Truly, relocated to Utah and later sued. In September 2024, Christine supposedly sued Kody for child support, and a paternity test was ordered because Kody had not been included on Truly's birth certificate. The suit generated enormous publicity, particularly after an excerpt from Christine's new book was said to be leaked. The leak occurred at an airport where a person noticed a murky page from her book displaying words, "Back support, $100,000" in bold print. That number spread quickly among supporters and press, generating outrage and gossip. The incident was reported to have put Kody in an anger fit. Witnesses reported that he became visibly infuriated at the airport, snapping at anyone who gazed too long. He was constantly tracking what was being said online, anxious to maintain command of his public image. With the story taking off, Kody allegedly grumbled to people around him that he must control the narrative. Fans may also recall another moment when Kody tried to twist the truth. When Christine announced she was relocating with Truly, Kody pushed back with claims that didn't quite add up. He even implied that Truly would be visiting his state regularly, something that never truly materialized. His words seemed more about appearances than reality. Ultimately, Christine did move on, and no one was shocked. Kody's antics already had estranged much of the family, and his public persona was suffering. Now, with the reported child support exposé and an increasing perception that he spun facts, the audience is viewing Kody very differently. Cody Brown's distrust of his ex-wives and failure to see their value and strength have been a source of frustration for quite some time. Even when he was making mistakes himself, Kody tended to act as if he knew everything and was doling out legal advice and guidance as if he were the expert. But to followers, it was downright absurd, particularly given the financial cost his wives had to absorb on their own. A prime example was particularly heartbreaking when Truly, Christine's youngest daughter, was hospitalized early in the series of Sister Wives. Fans were shocked to discover that Christine was responsible for paying the entire amount of the medical bills, almost $450,000, since she did not have insurance. Kody wasn't included on the birth certificate, and she alone carried the burden. Now, most fans believe Christine needs to utilize her legal team to pursue what she is entitled to, because obviously Kody isn't going to pay up voluntarily. And yet, after all of this, Kody still has the audacity to tell her he doesn't trust Christine. After 14 years of investing time, money, and effort in a joint life, most of which accrued to Robyn, the temerity is breathtaking. For years, Kody attempted to manipulate Christine's future, warning she'd marry some new husband who would strip her of her money. Again, however, reality acted against him. Christine is now married to David Woolley and is living the peaceful, rewarding life Kody always suspected she'd never know. Ironically, the same accusations Kody made against her are now being brought against him. And with last week's leak from Christine's new book, it appears the truth is finally being exposed. That breach has only served to generate curiosity about her tale, with pre-orders said to be rising, perhaps enough to recoup some of the funds she was kept from for so long. Robyn, on her part, is emerging with her own account of the collapse of the family. Once the bright, optimistic newcomer in a dysfunctional family situation, she's now placing blame in one very particular direction, not at Kody, not at their shared shortfalls, but at one woman, Christine. Robyn states it was Christine's decision to leave that destroyed the whole foundation. She maintains that the breakup was deliberate and destructive, and that the disintegration of the family wasn't due to favoritism or misunderstandings, but Christine's leaving and what it did to the people involved. Robyn was initially welcomed into the family as a bond of togetherness, someone who could fortify the relationship between the wives and children. She brought with her 3 children from a previous relationship and was warmly accepted. She often discussed the significance of co-parenting, shared love, and the strong sisterhood among the wives. She portrayed herself as being affectionate towards the beauty of plural living and the strong family they all attempted to create. But over time, that vision disintegrated. What initially had appeared as harmony became distance, hurt, and division. Although Robyn professed to hold the relationships and togetherness dear, her life too often told a different story, and with each passing season, the cracks within the family grew wider, revealing truths no longer concealed by appearances. Initially, Robyn seemed to have regard for the customs of her co-wives. She continually mentioned upholding the plural way of life and appeared dedicated to keeping peace in the household. But with time, the audience began to see subtle changes. Gradually, yet irrefutably, she started getting more attention from the one man at the center of their polygamous bargain. The emotional investments, the time, the important decisions all started leaning towards Robyn and her children. It wasn't long before the imbalance was apparent. The initial wives who had previously celebrated milestones and holidays together were now experiencing those moments revolving around only one home, Robyn's. A shared experience began to feel like a competition. While Robyn was growing closer with Kody, the other wives felt emotionally pushed aside, fighting for attention, affirmation, and balance. As cracks grew deeper and healing became a lost cause, the exits commenced. One wife, Kody's first, stepped away, then another, and then yet another. The plural family, founded on the premise of unity and respect for one another, fell apart before eyes of the viewers, and Robyn was the only partner left next to Kody. The public saw it unfold season after season. Now, Robyn is providing her own narrative. To her, the breakdown didn't have to do with favoritism or power dynamics. It happened as soon as Christine walked away. Robyn says the family's structure was healthy and sound until that turning point decision. She maintains Kody had a good relationship with his children and that the family culture was sound up to the time Christine chose to leave. Not everyone believes it, however. Most fans feel that the breakdown had actually begun many years prior to the time Christine left. At the height of the pandemic, Kody had started staying isolated, spending weeks on end at Robyn's residence and imposing strict rules others felt were excessive. Kids at the other homes started missing him, wondering why their dad was no longer dropping by or even calling. The kids' view can't be discounted either. The deterioration of Kody and his children didn't start with one of the wives leaving. It had been in the works for years, becoming increasingly evident during the pandemic. As Kody distanced himself from the other properties, making rules strict and coming by less often, the emotional distance increased. His interactions with his older sons became particularly tense, with moments of bluntness and conflict that it was hard for viewers to forget. In spite of all this, Robyn still tells her side of the story. "I never wanted to be the only one," she asserts, and maybe her heart is sincere. She still talks of loyalty to the plural way and describes the family configuration they once thought they held. But the life she leads today, alone with Kody, paints a very different picture from her still deployed story. Even though she still insists on professing belief in plural marriage, Robyn's words are starting to turn into contradictions. She now confesses that she would only welcome a second wife into the family under a sign from God, a sign that was accompanied by assurances that she would not have to suffer the same heartache again. Her narrative is turning into a blend of sadness, misunderstanding, and defensiveness. She looks tormented by what has occurred, but unwilling or unable to see her own responsibility in the matter. Rather, she comforts herself by blaming others, specifically the one wife who left. But the reality is, no one person sabotaged this family. The breakdown wasn't due to a singular choice or a single exit. It was an erosion that was fueled by favoritism, profound misunderstandings, wounds that never healed, and an uneven effort everywhere else. Robyn's recent interview demonstrates a complex emotional place, one that is full of denial, longing, and a desire to justify the pain while distancing oneself from the source of it. She remains in the home that was originally shared by all of the wives, their fantasy home they had hoped to share together. But the audience has not forgotten about the quiet times, the chilly stares, the imbalances, the silence when voices demanding fairness were met. They have not forgotten who remained silent, and they have not forgotten who did eventually leave, not in order to escape, but in order to take back a life in which their needs would not be ignored. For decades, audiences have watched the Brown family's polygamous life play out. What began as a daring, unorthodox family that was respected for their aspirations has evolved into a splintered portrait of disappointment and emotional damage. The fissures are now fully on display, and with recent emotional and financial discoveries coming to light, the drama has grown even more dramatic and divisive, both for the remaining family members themselves and for viewers watching from afar. One of the most excruciating examples was when Kody insisted that two of his older sons vacate their home, calling them disrespectful. That was a moment, as with so many others, witnessed by the public and not easily forgotten. These instances depict a family disintegrating under stress, a much more nuanced and complex reality than the one Robyn now retells. Robyn has been defensive and tearful in interviews. She asserts she did try to keep the family intact, calling the others and begging them to remain. Yet simultaneously there is a comfort in where she ended up, alone with Kody, safe in the relationship that the others had to leave behind. Though she cries over what was lost, it is evident she also clings to what she kept. Addressing from a position of security and comfort, Robyn's recent admission that all was well until one woman walked away has touched heartstrings, both among viewers as well as within the family. Numerous people have posited that her remarks are motivated by jealousy rather than genuine introspection. After all, the ex-wife in question has gotten on with things. She's remarried, clearly flourishing, and unshackled from the burdens that previously restrained her. Now she's frequently grinning in pictures, surrounded by her adult children and a new husband who dotes on her. That picture starkly contrasts with Robyn's existence, mourning, isolated, and grasping at what's left of a broken family. That stark contrast hasn't escaped notice. It has only increased public scrutiny. On one side is the woman still holding her ground in a plural marriage that has all but disintegrated. On the other is the remade former wife, going ahead with conviction and love. Robyn continues to maintain that she still believes in the plural family format and asserts she would welcome a second wife for Kody. But whenever she says it, there's a pause, a slight awkwardness that suggests fear or doubt. Robyn has also stated that she wishes that there were other women in the house, but her behavior in the latter years of the family tells a different story. She seldom sacrificed for the other wives or children. Her decisions usually left those women excluded from significant moments. She dodged social functions, refused to give straight answers when asked, and frequently reverted to general appeals to personal conviction or divine direction to defend her silence. Meanwhile, she seemed to relish being favored, even as she averred that she never asked for that privilege. Peering further, Robyn's latest condemnations fall a bit short. The wife she accuses of causing the family to break down lived through years of neglect and promises broken. She complained loudly many times about what she required, about needing connection, respect, and love, but her pleas were constantly disregarded. When she finally did leave, she insisted it wasn't because she was spiteful, it was a move of self-preservation. Christine, who was once one of the key figures in this plural family, has become an icon of autonomy. She's not merely a person who walked away from a marriage. She's a person who refused to remain silent and battle for what's right, even if that means dragging decades-old secrets out of the shadows. When she moved away, she did not leave behind a husband. She left behind a joint vision and the sole responsibility of raising her youngest child on her own, without official legal recourse. She had long ago emotionally disconnected from the marriage, but her actual walkaway was a turning point that surprised many. This was not a breakup. This was the unwinding of years, decades, of shared lives, shared finances, shared burdens, and shared aspirations. And when Christine sued for financial support, it brought them face to face. It made the problems unavoidable. And at the center of it all was a man who, in spite of it all, wasn't even technically listed on the forms designed to secure the child he in effect raised. The child Christine took with her after she left wasn't a reminder of the life she'd left, so much as a living, breathing example of Kody's daughter in every sense. In background, in love, in characteristics. And yet, her birth certificate did not legally indicate Kody as the father. That omission hadn't been an oversight. It was a reflection of how their multi-generational family worked. In a family that frequently operated more on spiritual ties than on legal ones, official paternity sometimes slipped through the gaps. But when legal issues arose, such as custody or child support, that omitted detail became a real problem. A court-ordered paternity test eventually became unavoidable, merely because there wasn't the paperwork to establish what everyone else already knew. In Kody's universe, only his official marriage was acknowledged by the government. That left his other wives in a bad way. Even though they raised his kids, they had no legal recourse to his earnings, no right to health insurance, and no safety net if things went wrong. Christine, like the others, bore this burden in silence for years. She supported her children without official recognition by the man whom they all once shared a roof with. One of the more painful reminders of this came during a traumatic chapter in the family's TV history. Christine's daughter was hospitalized with a serious illness. Insurance wouldn't pay the bills, and Christine had to foot the entire bill herself, an amount that would destroy most families. That moment was never out of the viewers' minds. It was an anguished expression that had become an emblem of it all. The emotional work, the money stress, and the unspoken strength. And now it appears that a new era of candor and responsibility is dawning. At roughly the same period that Christine was getting ready to publish her memoir, a searing and unflinching portrait of herself, her trials and her victories, came a grainy photo making the rounds of the internet. It was one page of the yet-to-be-released manuscript allegedly leaked. The picture was blurry and blacked out, but one thing was clear: a prominent six-figure number identified as back support. What did it mean? Kody owed Christine a huge sum in overdue child support. The response was swift. Social media erupted with conjecture. Had the leak been an accident, a warning, or a calculated step to garner attention? Fans bickered, analysed, and rallied around Christine. Kody's reaction, however, told a tale. Witnesses caught glimpses of him at an airport, looking visibly agitated, avoiding eye contact, repeatedly scrolling through his phone and grumbling about having the narrative under control. It wasn't the first time Kody had reacted in this manner. Veteran viewers weren't taken aback. After all, the possibility that Kody could be on the hook for a six-figure debt didn't come as a surprise to his fans. They had sat for years watching him invest time, effort, and money into one home, Robyn's, while appearing to overlook the others. The emotional and financial disparity was ever present. This leak, whether designed or not, only served to verify what so many had long believed, that the price of Kody's preferential treatment had been quietly borne by others for far too long. At the same time, Kody finds himself torn between damage control and the fallout of his history. The times when he had unbridled emotional and financial influence over his ex-wives are fading. Whether he acts with pride or in a defensive mode, the tide has turned. Christine's choice to assert herself for herself and her child has initiated a compelling dialogue concerning justice, fairness, and the emotional toll of asymmetrical relationships. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Sister Wives Underground for more updates and in-depth stories. We'll see you soon.